16th April, 1:26 p.m., Windibank's Pawnbrokery. Hello, suspects and saboteurs. My name is TB Sky, and welcome back to The Great Ace Attorney, where we are about to get off on some darned investigation and figure out some goddamn truth about the stuff that happened here, because we need to get Gina off the hook for the thing that she didn't do. Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now, to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please?
Hey, what's it now? You should go home and get some rest.
Here you are, Grexy. Here are the representation papers.
Your ladyship. Whoa! I don't believe it. How the devil did you get that stubborn little ragamuffin to sign that? I salute you. That is good work, that is.
I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue.
Lovely. Oh, well, let's see now. Yes. Oh, I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit as a fiddle, your ladyship.
Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime, then?
Do as you please. You know where it happened. Through that door behind the counter.
Yeah, the storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windibank and Gina.
Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then.
Will you be investigating the storeroom as well, Inspector?
If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it.
Shut the fuck up! Like, again with this thing, we can't afford to spend money on this or time on this. It's only a person's fucking life in the balance, but it's like, we can't justify the expenditure of investigating properly, so we'll just throw someone in jail over it and then execute them, and justice has been done. Good job, Gregson, Mr. Upholder of the Law. But he is an upholder of the law. It's like, but the system of law that he's upholding is bad.
But there's so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case the yard needs to investigate urgently.
Well, that must be what Lon Strongheart meant by far more serious matters before.
So what I'm saying is, don't get under my feet, sunshine.
Come then. Let's not waste any time.
Righto. Let's see.
That's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runo?
Well, yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan.
Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen?
Do I recognize that?
What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound?
Well, it's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks.
Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Grexy to have a word.
Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Iris is good.
These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited on display for customers to buy.
Yeah, it's a really strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example?
Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among all the junk, you know. Are you alright, Runo?
Oh, it's just, well, I mean, it looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help wishing you owned them. Even that horse statue.
That's exactly how the pawnbroker works. They're very clever.
Indeed. Speaking of, okay. I guess we can examine the policeman. The police are scouring every inch of this place by the look of it.
Instructions from the yard to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book of accounts.
Every article? But that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely.
We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're sifting through it all in shifts at least, but still, we'll be working through the night, that's for sure. And even we'll barely have scratched the surface.
A crime and a pawnbroker's. It must be every policeman's worst nightmare.
It's every couple's worst nightmare, you know, a crime and a pawnbroker's.
Quite indeed. Okay, let's see. The camera system. Oh, and the blood on the wall. We probably should look at that. Ah! Look here.
Oh, yes, a bullet hole. And I can see the bullet is still lodged in the wall.
Presumably, Mr. Winterbank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time.
Ah, well, Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that.
Sorry?
It's all there in the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, you know. Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It's quite a dangerous pastime.
He doesn't do it often? He shouldn't even do it once!
Oh, forget that now, Faruno. Let's examine this bullet.
What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? Huh, a suspicious red stain on the calendar.
Aha! I may well be able to help you with that.
What?
There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Runo?
Oh, what an inconvenient time to get a notification message there, Windows. Thank you. I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris.
I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, you see? When it comes to blood, we're all different types.
Yes, what a scientific observation.
So, you need this.
Oh no, what is that scary-looking thing?
Hurley and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet. But as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch.
Oh, the color of the bloodstain has changed.
There, does that make sense now?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand.
Good. It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood, you see. Yes, how wonderful. The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. So you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at. In a flash. Oh, what a fabulous invention, Iris. Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Gina would say it's bleeding great.
So, whose blood are we looking at then?
Well, all the chemical does is turn the blood a different color, so... Just find someone whose blood turns the same color, and you'll know who it belongs to, in a flash.
It's more like 2 flashes, really, isn't it?
1 flash or 2. This could well turn out to be a very valuable clue. So we must make note of it in the court record.
Well, alright then.
Let's keep testing and adding the results of any other blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have a reagent left, sure.
Let's see, then there was the camera system set up. The front of the shop. Can't see where the thing... Okay. Where was that? Sholmes had it set up somewhere. I mean, it's obviously going to be important. Okay, well, let's figure it out. I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are, though I'm not confident I can get it closed again.
Oh, yes, that's a folding stereoscope.
Really? This is a stereoscope? Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see in 3 dimensions. But for that, he used the great big contraption over there.
Ha, well, that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. But this little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself.
I wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. It would beat keeping our toilet sparkling clean anyway. What? This is that strange contraption that lets you see pictures of things as if they're right in front of your eyes. Makes you think. When Mr. Sholmes gleefully showed it to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. Let's see, is that all we've got over here? Well, the policeman. This officer has been staring intently at the wall since before we came in here.
Shh, keep it down.
Oh, sorry.
There's a major clue just here.
Really? Then we must tell Grexy at once.
Well, as soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer.
Stuck here? What do you mean?
Well, I haven't been home in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift.
They really have a tough time, the British police.
That doesn't stop us investigating, though, does it?
No, I suppose not. I'm fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at. Yeah, we've already seen. Or have we? Green blood. It just seems wrong somehow.
Oh, there are all sorts of different colours. There are pretty pinks and purples too, you know. Like I said, everyone's blood is different.
I wonder what color my blood would turn out. Actually, I don't want to know. Okay. Done with all of the stuff here. Cool. Uh-huh. There's the article ledger here and Mr. Windibank's notes and... Huh? What's this? Looks as though someone has left a little photographic print behind.
Oh, look at the back. There's some writing. Is there? Oh, show us, Susie. Show us.
15th February, 10:30 p.m. Article deposited 1 gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid £1. Redemption deadline 15th April, 10:30 p.m. A gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1? Clearly it was a very fine coat. In fact, I think...
Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed yesterday.
And is still wearing, which belonged to McGilded. I'd never have expected the redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though.
It seems Mr. Windibank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have to hand.
But this photograph of a cat looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact same picture somewhere else recently.
Oh, yes, you're right. Very recently. It's the same as the one Ginny gave us earlier.
Of course! I was forgetting that she gave us that print. Well, what are you waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo? Get it out. All right, let's the cocked turn. Same oh, but from 2 different angles. So that it's a stereoscopic print. I see the little detail change.
Yes, they're exactly the same. Ha! I've got it. These 2 photographs hide an amazing secret.
A secret? What does she mean?
You must tell us, Iris, at once. You really want to know?
Yes, we need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs. It's a stereoscopic image. So, Iris, about these 2 photographic prints. The one we found here on Mr. Windibank's counter and the one Gina gave us before. What is this amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these 2 identical prints?
Actually, that's not quite right.
Sorry?
If you look carefully, the 2 prints aren't the same. Not exactly.
They're not?
Have another look at them now. Can you see that they're just slightly different from each other?
I think so. It's very subtle, though. But what's the reason for the subtle difference between these 2 prints?
Ah, well, it's because they're a set, you see.
No, I don't.
This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London's raving about them at the moment.
Stereoscope. Why do I feel as if I've heard that word before recently? Oh, yes, that's what Mr. Sholmes showed us yesterday. You see? There it is, just over there. Ah, yeah, of course. That magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch.
Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures, even without one of those contraptions.
What? Really?
Do you know how a pair of flat photographic prints can appear to have any depth in the first place?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, wonderful. Then I'll be able to tell you.
She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the scene. I, for one, simply have to know. Let me take a crack at the explanation first. I think I already did that the last time we saw it, but basically, you have these two prints that are taken at the same time with two cameras that are offset from each other just enough that it mimics the positional differences of the human eye. And so you create two photographs, and if you show the picture that lines up with like the left eye to the left eye, and the picture lines up with the right eye to the right eye, the brain will do what it already does with your normal vision when it tries to work out like depth perception, and see these two distinct images as one three-dimensional space. And like the brain will basically fill in the depth that isn't there in the actual flat pictures, but because it gets those two slightly different sets of information that line up with how it normally processes images.
Have you ever considered, Runo, how our eyes see depth in the world around us?
Well, I just open them, and it works.
But the reason it works is because we have two eyes.
Two eyes? Shocking.
If you try closing just one at a time, I think you'll see straight away. What you see with your left eye, and what you see with your right eye, are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye.
Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly.
Exactly, and in your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate depth as it merges the two views into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see.
Ah, my brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. Ah, I think I see. So the pair of photographs consist of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right?
Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick.
So, if you could persuade your brain to merge the two pictures together in your head, you'd be able to see depth in these prints?
Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand.
And a stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that?
Yes, but as long as you have two images, two eyes, and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all.
You can? Really?
Let's try it. Let's see if you can view this pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope.
Oh, yes, I'm dying to have a go. Sasato-san really loves this kind of thing.
You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you both do that?
Cross my eyes? I think I can.
Watch me. Watch me and see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this.
All right, let me try. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? There, how's that?
Wonderful. Now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with...
The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Also, that hurts to hold on to for too long.
All right, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one print and slowly crossing your eyes. You should see two overlapping images like this. You try it now, Runo.
I'm just gonna have to give it a try, I suppose.
Did the prints blend into two images for you? Now, the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this and then try crossing your eyes again. The prints should slowly merge together until they form a new single image in the center.
Oh, yes!
Mr. Naruhodo, it works. I can see in the middle now. It looks so real. Oh, I could look at it all day.
I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt.
Your turn, Runo. Pretend you're looking through the two pictures and slowly starting to cross your eyes.
The problem I have is that I'm wearing glasses. And, like, that... my prescription fucks with it. But you guys can give it a try. I'll give you a few seconds. Or, heck, you could just pause the video, actually.
Keep adjusting the position of your eyes until the two images overlap exactly in the middle.
Like this, is it?
There, you managed it. So now you know how stereoscopic images work. Well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So, what do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo?
Well, they're certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly.
No, some people find it easier than others. But that's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here, then set the pair of photographs on this stand at the back end.
Well, it's still amazing, even though I know roughly how it works now.
Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently.
But these little machines are so affordable. Surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them.
But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case.
Stereoscopic pictures. I've never even heard of them until yesterday. We certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledge that I'll ever actually need. I think it will be. Like, they wouldn't spend all this time on it if it wasn't, gonna be important. Also, there's blood on that picture. I just thought we should maybe, just like, hello, that's blood.
Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here.
I've noticed.
The red smear, you mean?
Yeah, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Susato-san has picked up on that. Well, in that case,
Yes, we need Iris.
we should show this to her before we forget. No fingerprinting, though.
Oh, that looks like blood.
I would say it's from a gloved finger. Almost certainly a glove made of leather.
Well, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me.
Ah, different blood. Not the same as the one on the wall. Look at that!
Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add it to the portfolio of blood samples. It could be an important clue. Although, it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point.
Well, this particular stain of blood.
Oh, you've had an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is?
I think I do. Yeah, I have an idea whose blood it is. Not from the color it turned, but with a little deduction.
That's right. I think it's clear. Iris, you know as well. You first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to?
Alright, I believe that this is the blood of... Yeah. If I had to guess... Thrice-fired Mason.
You don't sound very sure of yourself the way you trailed there.
Well, it was 2 months ago now, that case. And of course, I'd never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember his name. He was definitely thrice-fired, though.
The victim of the omnibus case? Yes, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket here to Windibanks yesterday. I'm suggesting that the bloodstain was already on it at that time.
So, it's a smear of blood from the time that Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves that night.
Now I ask yous, what kind of good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start wearing big gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. Well, it certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint, this mark. But we know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries at the time anywhere in his body, from which we can conclude that any blood on the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason.
Mr. Naruhodo, you sound just like Mr. Sholmes.
Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope.
Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well. Let's make a note of this.
Well, excellent. Anything else we can talk to Iris about? No. But we might be able to present something to her. That ledger that's open on the counter there, it really is enormous, isn't it? Must be an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn.
It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head if you ask me.
But clearly Mr. Windibank was very careful when it came to the articles in his care. Yeah, but the shattered lamp, Runosuke. The shattered lamp at the glass, you don't wanna put that in the court record, so we're like, no. Okay. Alright. Fine. Sure, whatever.
Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Grexy said.
Yeah, and that's where I saw that dreadful scene last night. Through the little window in the door. Mr. Windibank face down on the floor, with Gina beside him.
As the accused legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation.
Yeah, of course. And we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Is it, though? Is it, though?
Don't worry. If there are clues in there, I'll find them.
Okay, do I just have to move them? Ah, yes. Bloodstain, excellent. 16th April, Windibank storeroom. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely.
Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windibank's life was taken in this very room only last night.
Wait, Inspector!
What is in there, sunshine?
You took one look at me and tried to run away.
You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defence lawyer, do you? I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her.
So you weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old.
I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector.
Yeah. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you?
You're not good at this, Gregson. I don't think that went very well.
What? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet.
And we have investigating to do ourselves.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say.
Oh, Hurley.
And inquire into how Mr. Sholmes' operation is going. Let's start with Sholmes, shall we?
Rexy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he?
Well, the thing is,
Don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is...
No, the operation's done and dusted. Well, it's just that, well...
Out with it!
Well, yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing, renders the whole body insensitive.
The whole body? Anesthetized? Is that even possible?
That means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep.
Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction.
Well, the trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. I couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, so I hear. And now that the op's finished, I can't get him to wake up, apparently.
Oh my!
No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes round again.
Hurley.
The moment he opens his eyes, you'll let the ship, I swear she'll get wet to you.
What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here?
Shit, you got eyes, haven't you? Use them. It's what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less.
Iris, could you lend me a hand?
So, Grexy, what do you make of the crime scene here?
Oh, well, yes, your ladyship, do you allow me to humbly explain? Last night, shortly after the hour 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to this storeroom was found locked from the inside.
So, it was locked from the inside.
The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police officers doing?
Quite right, man, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in, as humbly as possible.
Oh.
As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. And next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the wild, vile gutter child.
Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector.
Mr. Strud, the helpless girl was curled up on the floor, dead to the world.
She's still alive, you know. Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious.
And I'm afraid to say, she had the gun that was used in her hand.
No.
Presumably, it's the gun that's still down there on the floor now.
In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well.
What? The key to the storeroom?
And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector?
Correct, all of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding.
Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. We should probably examine that bloodstain, shouldn't we? The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. That's not a thing, by the way. That really isn't done in murder investigations.
Poor Mr. Winterbank. He was a nice old man.
Like, you just take pictures of it if you need to know where the body was.
Well, he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely, the fella died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing.
This must be his blood, then.
Ha! I don't like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action.
Oh, we have 3 different bloodstains now.
So, now we know the color the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Winterbank's blood. And it doesn't match our analysis of the bloodstain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway.
That's good to know, because, like, I was thinking, like, maybe the crime scene was actually in the shop and Windibank was, like, shot at the door and then stumbled into the storeroom to, I don't know, fall over and die, but no. No, he died in here, clearly. Shot through the heart and all that. Iris?
Don't worry, I'm all right. But we must find the true culprit.
Yes, absolutely. Now, gun. This is a revolver, a real one.
And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windibank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Runo look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh.
And I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windibank with this yesterday, didn't we? Yeah, okay, right. He did do that thing. I shall have to take my own life. It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Loud-ass truck outside. What the hell?
Mr. Windibank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired.
So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. Out of all the articles in this storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked.
Ha!
What is it, Iris?
That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in.
Oh. Iris's unpublished story? The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this...
Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, you sold it. Well, telling you. We must check inside the box at once. Yes. Ah. It was there. Iris's story was there.
Really? It was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris?
Yes. I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still. It's a relief to actually see it.
Really? Because that's not a very well-hidden frown. Okay. Interesting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. How did Sasada-san know the exact title of this unpublished story? I suppose I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain it to me.
I'm so sorry.
Is it because, in order to tell us how she knows, she has to reveal that Dr. Wilson is dead? Like, that could be why. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them.
I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings, look.
Pieces of different people's lives, quietly gathering dust in here together. There's something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least there would be if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shuffling around.
Not much I can do about that, sunshine.
So, what else is there to investigate in here? Must be something. Keys... lamp... What, really? That's it? Really? Just the chalk outline and... Huh. I'm so used to doing more pixel hunting.
Is that what I think it is? Your ladyship's latest?
Yes, my latest story. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles.
A most fascinating title, your ladyship. Fascinating. And, I don't suppose, would there be any mention of my humble self in the title this time?
Good question. I can't really remember.
I see. Well, why would you, your ladyship? I'll just await publication with eager anticipation.
You needn't worry, Inspector. I'm sure if you do appear, you won't be doing anything particularly remarkable.
You're looking to be arrested, sunshine?
I didn't mean it like that. And even if I did, you wouldn't have bitten her ladyship's head off, would you? I guess we can present the manuscript to Iris outside. The game punishes you, by the way, for showing off, like, just trying to show off every item to every person. By, like, having particularly long scenes of the character saying, no, I don't know what that is, and I don't have anything to tell you about it. And they make them really, really long, so even that if you skip through them, it still takes forever.
Oh, my manuscript.
Mr. Schoen said he deposited it at Windybanks, and he had.
But it's so strange. What is it about this particular story? I worked so hard on it. Why would Hurley say I can't publish it?
I'm afraid I have no idea. All you can do is wait until he's ready to tell you, I suppose.
Oh, maybe. It's because Hurley isn't in it enough. Maybe I didn't give him enough good lines.
Yeah, maybe. I wish I could say that definitely isn't the reason, but I can't. Right, see, because normally once you're finished investigating, there will be, they'll have a little scene where they say, oh, we have finished investigating. But I guess let's just go to places, see if anything happens. There's still Scotland Yard carriage outside Windybanks.
Never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home.
Poor Iris. She's very upset by all this. I'm sorry. I was there. I should have done more.
None of this is your fault, Bruno. So please, don't apologize.
But
It's the criminals who are to blame for all this. So let's investigate and work out how to catch them.
Yes, you're right. Okay. Where the hell do we go? The prison, maybe? Talk to Gina? Hey, that looks right. 16th April, local prison cell 13. Gina doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in questioning at the moment.
Oh, but wait a minute.
What is it, Iris?
Well, if you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Ginny could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Oh my.
Why would she do something like that? It would only make her situation worse. I don't know, because she's about to be prosecuted for a crime that she didn't commit by a state that's not interested in sinking the resources necessary into properly investigating the case, and then she's going to get railroaded to the gallows where she'll be executed for the crime of murder. That could be a reason to fuck off. Like, there's places to hide in London, you know.
Calm down, Bruno. I was only joking, of course.
Oh. You had me worried there. I thought it was a great deduction.
Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight your words carry. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I suppose a light-hearted great detective is a contradiction in terms.
Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would just have thrown his head back and guffawed.
I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruhodo.
Well, anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime.
Yes, come along then, Bruno. Come along, Susie.
Okay, well, I thought maybe that would be... Hang on. I can't examine anything? Okay, well. But I feel like I've examined all of the things. Have I not? I feel like I'm missing the damn cameras. Like, where are they? They were there last time. Oh. 3 golden balls.
That's right. That sign shows the shop is a pawnbrokery. A bit like your armband shows you're a defense lawyer.
And what's the significance of the 3 golden balls? Does it have some special meaning?
I expect Hurley would like to answer that question when he's back from hospital.
You mean you don't know? Well, that's one thing we didn't investigate, apparently. Okay, I'm a little stumped as to what's the thing that we need to do to make the thing progress.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Oh, shit. Oh, it was just that. Okay. Inspector, what do you make of this?
Well, what have we then? A redemption ticket for an article deposited here, is it? Looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper was stand.
Yeah, this...
Yeah, this is the ticket from McGilden's overcoat, the one that little diver turned up with yesterday.
Oh, actually, no, it's not.
Really? Oh, I think you know better than me, do you?
No, I didn't mean to...
Bruno's right, Grexy. It isn't the same ticket.
Oh, well, of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. Never doubted you, your ladyship. So, what's this all about then, if I might be as spoiled as to ask?
This is a second ticket.
Second one?
It seems that Mr. McGilden, in fact, had another article in storage here at Windybanks.
Is that right?
I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruto.
Oh, good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. It was just that one thing. Okay. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGilden's overcoat.
Oh, you mean to tell me?
Yes, there was more than just a music box disc, it seems.
I sure insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examining it properly.
Well, according to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGilden deposited another article here with Winterbank.
Yeah, I can see it written here. A small box, was it?
Do you have any idea where it is, Grexy? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilden. It could be an important clue.
Well, yes, I suppose it could be. But please, stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. There's too much pressure. I'll lose my marbles, I will. I'll go barking.
This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector.
Well, that's enough sauce for you, sunshine. Well, here's one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, isn't it?
Oh, yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So, the small box will no longer be in here, then?
That's right. It's been forfeited.
Which means it could be on the shelves in the front of the shop, where forfeited items are offered for sale.
Yes, the shelves in the front. We must search them at once.
You're wasting your time.
Oh.
There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been McGilden's. The information's not written in the ledger.
Well, I think we should at least go have a look, just in case.
Well, of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure.
This is getting old. It was just that one bloody thing.
Ah! I nearly jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Windybank set such a wicked trap?
I doubt he set out to scare anyone.
Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon.
Oh?
Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Udo? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be her lawyer.
Really? Did I say that?
Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching.
In that case, we'd better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again. But the shelves, though.
Yes, this is where all the items that have been forfeited by the original owners are offered for sale. That's right. They've got little price labels on them, but there are so many.
I wonder if the small box this ticket was for is still on the shelves somewhere. The box that Mr. McGill deposited here just over 2 months ago.
Even if it were, finding it promises to be very troublesome indeed. There are so many boxes. It could be any one of them.
Mr. Shulm said that a pawnbroker's was the safest place to store anything, more secure than a bank's vault. So perhaps this small box of Mr. McGilded's contains something of very great value.
Well, if that's the case, he'd probably have kept it locked.
So then we need to find every box with a lock and break them all open.
That sort of misconduct would get you arrested. I won't let that happen.
This takes me back. Oh, it's been some time since Asada-san last threw me. So that's a no on the box, then. Okay, because I feel like that one right there is kind of conspicuous. How about those ones? Alright, fine, we'll go visit Gina instead. (16th April, 5:41 p.m. Local prison, cell 13. Ah, Gina, good. You're back.
Huh. The police must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Ginny? Was it awful?
What didn't bother me? Thank you for the papers you signed before. It meant we were able to investigate at Windybanks. Oh, right.
Don't you want to know how we got on? We've been ever so busy.
What's the point in asking?
Won't change what everyone's saying. I did. Well, that's not...
Gina, we came to ask for your final decision.
Aye? What decision?
About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you, or not?
I must submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mr. Naruhodo to represent you. Right, I'll see.
She's really lost her fight all of a sudden. But I know what that feels like. The worry is just so hard to bear.
Oh, alright then. Blimey, give it a rest with them eyes, Iris. So come on then, fill us in. Who done it?
Unfortunately, we don't know that yet.
Yeah, sigh.
We don't know yet, Gina.
But Miss Naruhodo and all of us know that you are innocent of this crime.
And while we haven't yet managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts that we have managed to establish.
Oh yeah? Like what?
Well, for example, the reason for you being in there in the first place. I think I know why you broke into Windybanks that night. She wanted to get the manuscript for Iris. That's what you wanted to do. Looks like I'm gonna have to take some evidence that clearly reveals the reason, and thrust it in Gina's face. Or I could present it to her calmly, I suppose. We found this in Mr. Windybank's storeroom. The manuscript of Iris's latest story.
Oh, right. Well, that's good then.
Curiously, the storeroom in Windybank showed no sign of being ransacked for items of value or the like. With one exception. The box file that housed this manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing this manuscript last night? Aye? You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of the Baskervilles was really there. That's the real reason you broke into the storeroom last night, isn't it? Why don't you tell us what happened? Please. Alright, yeah. It's Baskerville's story. It's the latest Sholmes adventure, right? But it ain't been printed yet. So I figured it's got to be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right? Oh yes, at least £5,000. What? So, you intended to sell Iris's manuscript, did you?
No, Ginny, how could you?
What? Why? No, hang on. Of course I wasn't going to sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the manuscript, whatever you call it, really was there or not. That's the only reason I was in the place. For Iris's sake, isn't that right? Oh, but what? We knew why you'd done it from the start, Gina. Of course we did.
Well, I knew you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Ginny. I just knew it.
Well, when I saw the manuscript in the storeroom, it reminded me of what you'd said the night before. Flashback? Well, that's do a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced lies, a lot of them. You just ain't realised it yet. I'm telling you, that manuscript ain't a Windy Banks. You'd soon see if you had a look.
If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley is telling me the truth sometimes. I mean, that I sometimes wondered if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. Somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. Ginny, that was so sweet of you.
Alright. I'll tell you what I did. Just stop looking at me like that, Iris. Ah, little Sundari. It wasn't because of Iris. It's not what I did. I just wanted to know the truth, that's all. You wanted to know if Mr. Sholmes was being honest. If he'd really deposited the manuscript at Windybanks. It's like I told you the night before. I never had a father. But Iris's lot ain't like mine. She's got a dad, only she can't see him. Okay, yeah. Yeah, about that. Oh God, I dread when we have to break those fucking news. I reckon that's gotta be harder. That's why she writes the stories about her dad, really. That's what it sounded like to me, in a way. This night, while I was listening to what you were saying.
Stories about Daddy?
You mean, they're not the adventures of a great detective, so much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner? Well, just how I see it, yeah.
You're so thoughtful and so kind, Ginny.
Yes, and we never thought any differently, did we? Look, give it a rest, will you? I hate all this chummy nonsense, do you? I hate it. I don't trust no one, right? That's how I work. Because if you don't trust no one can let you down. So leave me alone. Go on, Scarper. Sorry, lady. That barking don't work. I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable. Right there on both sleeves of the overcoat are some very suspicious red stains. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I think it might be worth presenting some of our other findings to Gina in that area now. Those stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina. They're blood, aren't they? Not that I know whose blood yet. What?
But blood, Mr. Naruto.
You don't appear to have any obvious wounds yourself, though. So, could it be blood that spattered from Mr. Windybank when he was shot last night?
Let's not beat around the bush here. This trusty friend of mine will get the results much faster than anything else.
Aye? Take it easy, Iris.
Don't move, Ginny. I'm going to shoot.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Oh,
Because that would be the blood of thrice-fired Mason. The blood from the crime that McGilded said he didn't commit.
oh my.
What the? Forget the sleeves. The whole coat is covered in blood. Of course. The black color of the fabric was masking the stains. That's why we haven't seen them until now.
And the blood is reacted with the chemical to turn a purple color, which matches one of the samples we've already collected perfectly. Yes, now let's see. Who had the purple blood? Aha! Yes, it was the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, the victim of the murder case 2 months ago.
I knew it.
What are you all on about?
The victim? What do you mean?
It's a rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruhodo, but I think this makes things quite clear. It means that the omnibus case is finally solved. The truth about who really murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed. Oi! Won't you someone explain what's going on? Stop dulling out your story!
We can see now that the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGilded's overcoat.
But in the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony.
Now I ask us, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush in to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. But if you look at his overcoat now, it's clear. These stains couldn't have arisen from Mr. McGilded trying to pull the victim to his feet. No, if that was what had really happened, the blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this pattern of blood is that it splattered over Mr. McGilded's coat when he stabbed the victim in his stomach. I tried to run from the truth for long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, was Magnus McGilded.
Mr. Naruhodo.
That horrible case is solved at last. And I helped the man walk free from that trial. I used all that twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I let that happen?
Bruno, did you believe him, though? Did you believe Mr. McGilded was innocent?
I believed. Or rather, I think I was trying to believe. Or wanted to. Because believing in those you represent in court is a defense lawyer's greatest weapon.
A weapon?
Before we came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson.
You mean Kazuma-sama?
Listen, Ryunosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what is a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. An unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have.
Unwavering belief?
Only when we truly believe that what our clients tell us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. So I believe you, unwaveringly.
What's funny, Gina? Cool, since that you're the same part of Japan you come from, everyone must be soft. Well, come on, look at the mess it's got you into, believing all that bok trotter.
Yeah, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free. Yeah, but you know, it's like, if the state can't prove that someone committed a crime, then that's the way it goes. Because that's preferable to the alternative where the state can just convict people of crimes without having to, like, prove with a sufficient burden of evidence that they committed it. Which, like, down that way lies horrors. Like, horrors lie down that way. So, yeah, I mean, the complicating factor here is that McGilded was able to fake evidence to prove his innocence because he's fucking wealthy. And that's always the fundamental problem, isn't it? Rich people trying to play by different rules than everyone else. Well, at least you got learned your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone's always stabs you in the back in the end. As soon as you let down your guard, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one. Get hurt by no one.
Gina, may I ask you something?
What?
I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial?
I'm in charge, so I have to say, rip it up and chuck him away.
Are you really sure that's what you want?
I bet that's what he wants at all now. Mr. I'm a believer lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I led everyone up the garden path, didn't I?
And you're telling me you can believe him after all that?
Not likely.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo?
A lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened. Yeah, obviously. Fuck yeah, we can. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial.
Aye? Why are you half-baked?
Not at all. You've not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth.
Seriously, Mr. Naruhodo? Did you hear all I said before? I'm a born liar, fips just slip off my tongue. And I'm a diver, don't forget. I poured the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got you into all sorts of trouble. Why would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it. Gina, I do understand why you choose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there's more to this life than you yet realize.
What do you mean?
The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who won't ever let you down.
It's true that I'm just a student of law, and I'm certainly lacking in courtroom experience. But I can promise you this. Whatever happens, and until my very last breath, I'm completely on your side.
What do you expect me to side of that? Then it's decided. I will take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations for tomorrow's trial. It would be a shame to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully.
Do as you like. You Eastern lot of... I don't know what you are, I don't get you. They're anime protagonists is what they are. In the sense of being, like, just, like, it's that particular element of faith that, like, that makes for the best anime protagonist. Like, whether it's Goku or Naruto or like, even Sailor Moon, it's that element of faith, like, that ability to believe wholeheartedly in something and go for it fully. That's like, very sort of symbolic of, like, sort of, like Japanese kids entertainment, and like anime. It's like some of the more iconic characters, like Naruto as well, falls into this. Like characters who are able to just 110% believe in something and go for it, and like put everything they have into it. And when they're able to do that, that's when they're able to overcome the greatest challenges, like over the course of their stories. And that's, you can kind of see that narrative thing plays out a lot with the Phoenix Wright games as well. Where, like, it's really the thing that comes down to is that the protagonists of Phoenix Wright games and, like, these Ace Attorney games are always confronted with reasons to doubt. Reasons to think, oh, shit. Like, we can't make our way out of this one. We can't get past this. This obstacle is too great. Like, this is too difficult to believe. We can't find a way to prove this. And their story is always about getting past doubt. Getting past uncertainty towards the certainty of truth. And that's sort of like, that's a very sort of like a thing that comes from that style of storytelling. Gina's taking herself off to the back of her cell. She'd never admit it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. That turned out all right in the end, I think. Whoever's hiding there, show yourself at once. Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Mr. Sato? Somebody's there in the shadows. I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before. What?
Blimey, you're sharp, eh? I suppose you were using one of his Mr. Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about.
If anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector.
Crexy!
Oh dear me, I'm most terribly sorry, your ladyship. Didn't mean to start you.
How long have you been listening on our conversation?
Good grief, are you listening in? No. I just got word that there were some visitors who were refusing to leave, even though it was after hours. I assure you, your ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is, nothing untoward, nothing all.
After hours? Is it that late already?
So then, I'll humbly excuse myself now, your ladyship. Ta-ta, toodaloo, cheerio, and all the best, bye-bye and bye.
That's a lot of farewells and not a one of them appropriate for her ladyship.
Oh, but I wanted to have a chat.
I'm terribly sorry, but time is pressing at the minute.
Oh, I see. That's a shame.
If I don't get this emergency at the Supreme Court dealt with sharp as Strongheart, well, oh well.
Emergency?
Lord Strongheart?
No, nothing, forget to say anything. Anyway, I'm off.
All right, Grexy, if you have to, but let's chat soon.
Delighted, charmed, can't wait. If you please, my pleasure.
That's a lot of pleasantries, and not one of them sounded sincere.
Grexy's so funny. He says such silly things.
It's certainly entertaining to see an inspector of the police fawning to a 10-year-old girl. But anyway, I wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court.
Let's go find out!
I must attend the court clerk's office now before it closes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. Sato. Kindly escort Iris home now, Mr. Naruhodo. I shall meet you there later. Aw, but I wanted to go see the emergency at the Supreme Court. And so, our investigation came to an end. Susato-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day. And then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing at my insides. Tomorrow, Susato-san would be leaving. Leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. "16th April, 11:13 p.m., Naruhodo Legal Consultancy. Naruhodo-san, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato-san? Today has been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Mr. Sholmes was shot before our eyes, Gina was arrested. All on the back of the news that her father has fallen ill and she must return to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is that so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm. And yet, I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task? It's just 2 months since we arrived in London, but we've managed to establish this office. It was finally feeling as though we were settling in. I would be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susato-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience at the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Oh yes, like human beings are a land of contrasts. Facets? And like a jewel, the light plays off them in complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we see only a small number of the total facets, and what's illuminated is only part of the whole story. What lies at the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there's some parts we'll never lay eyes on, as long as we live.
That's so true.
Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much, but I keep hoping that one day it'll all become clear. That all the facets will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together.
Naruhodo-san.
I suppose what matters is that we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark.
It's amazing to think it's been just 2 months. You've grown so much.
Sorry? What?
Oh, no, it was nothing. Unimportant.
Do you know what time you will leave London in the morning?
Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving here at 4 a.m.
I see. Well, I'll escort you to the station.
Absolutely not.
Sorry?
I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow.
Gina's trial. Yeah, I know, but...
Every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible. Even though, like me, I'm sure you will find it hard to sleep. But please, for me, do try.
You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What did you mean?
Oh my, I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this.
What is that? Some huge bundle of documents.
It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. The murder that was committed on the omnibus.
The McGilded case.
It seems to me that this case of Mr. Winterbank's murder, of which Gina is accused, is very much tied up with that omnibus case, in ways that are not yet completely apparent. So I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you.
With everything else she's had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and neatly laid it out for me in her beautiful handwriting.
It was my pleasure. I can only hope that it'll bolster your case tomorrow for Gina.
Thank you so much, Susato-san. I'll do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world.
Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure.
Sorry? I didn't quite catch what you said there.
Ignore me. I was just mumbling to myself.
No, we fucking heard it. Could press her a little bit on that one, Mr. Courtroom guy. We need to dig into that shit and make her stop thinking that way.
Well, it's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Mr. Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing up my things in my room.
Susato-san,
I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night.
Wait, there's something I need to say. What was that?
A secret technique of mine. The Susato shutdown.
Shutdown?
Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears.
Susato-san. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Gina to open up to us and learning the truth about that nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes, and as a cacophony of scenes in our lives here in London played through my head, eventually, My fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. "17th April, the small hours. St. Sinner's Hospital, Ward 3. Don't know whose voice that is. Yes, I quite understand. That is a great weight off my mind. Is that Shums? Rest assured, I shall put everything in place exactly as we have discussed. Thank you so much. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Shums. On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. I bid you farewell, and Godspeed. Yeah, I figured. My dear madam. And there's a natural stopping point. If you've enjoyed hanging out in the world of Great Ace Attorney with me, you can hit the like, comment, and or subscribe buttons down below. They'll let you know when a new episode comes out. You can also check the playlist, and there might be an episode up there already that you can't see yet because it is available only to members. So if you want to be a member on the channel, you can get access to early episodes before they go live for everybody else. I also have a Patreon, a merchandise store, and a tip jar. But if you don't have the money for it, or you just don't want to, you absolutely do not have to use those things. It's entirely there for people who can comfortably afford it. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, take as many vaccines as we're going to have to take, and try to act with solidarity towards those who are worse off than yourself.